Ladies and gentlemen, the guy at the end of the bar proudly presents the Dantanna's Late Shift. Brought to you by attorney Ray Giudice. And now the two men to take you to new heights in sports conversation, Nick Cellini and Matt Chernoff.
And good evening. Welcome to another edition of The Late Shift. He is Matt Chernoff. I am Nick Cellini. Braves announcer Joe Simpson set to join us a little bit later on, as will our legal eagle Ray Giudice, and some bizarre web hits also coming up a little bit later on. But we start, Matt, by talking about some college football. And Tim Davis used to work for Nick Saban with the Dolphins, used to work for Nick Saban at Alabama. He's now the offensive line coach of Florida. Spoke to a booster club representing the Gators and maybe was a bit over-exuberant, saying, look, I worked for the devil himself in Nick Saban. Will Muschamp has the same competitive qualities, but he also has a personality unlike Nick Saban.
Yeah, at first I was trying to figure out what was happening. Was he joking? Was he getting caught up in the excitement that these booster club meetings will bring as you see the response from Nick Saban? We'll talk about his response in a moment, because I'm even shocked that he responded to this. But let's just assume, Nick, that Tim Davis was serious. He doesn't like Nick Saban. He worked for him. He's now going to compete against him. I would say, so what? You know what? This is great for football. It's fodder. It's fun. It gives us something extra to talk about. I don't get the sense, though, that he was serious. I think he was poking some fun. I think he got caught up with the crowd having a good time, and he got carried away. I don't think there's much more to this.
You know, Brett Bielema at Arkansas kind of found himself in a similar situation, calling out Nick Saban. But that's what happens. You're trying to rally the troops. You're trying to sell some tickets at these booster clubs. Unfortunately, you've got rabble-rousers like us now in the media. Every little thing that's said is going to be magnified.
Well, you go after the biggest fish, and the biggest fish in this case is Nick Saban. That's how you get the most attention. All right, to the NFL. Speaking of getting attention, Dwight Freeney has not had a lot of attention in the free agent market until now. He is the biggest name to come off the board. He signs a deal with the San Diego Chargers. Now, to compare what he got, it's very similar to what O.C. Umenyiora got in a 2-year deal. He got about $250,000 more. Nick, here's what struck me as odd. Last season, Freeney played in a 3-4 defense, which he said he wasn't very comfortable with, playing out of position at the outside stand-up linebacker, yet he's going to do it again in San Diego. Why?
Doesn't make any sense, and San Diego is going to tell you, well, we play more of a hybrid, some 4-3, some 3-4, but the bottom line is this. You gave him 2 years, as much as $13 million, and his sack totals have gone down the last 3 years. I don't think he's the same player. He's a situational guy at best.
I think he's a one-year guy. I think this will ultimately be a one-year contract. Remember what John Abraham got with the Falcons a year ago. He signed that 3-year, $16 million deal, and it turned out to be a one-year deal. I thought here with Atlanta might have been a really good fit for Dwight Freeney. Unfortunately, the Falcons don't have any money until Matt Ryan's deal gets done and the June 1st salary situation plays itself out. But I thought Freeney in Atlanta, 4-3 defense, opposite of Umenyiora, inside, on carpet. I thought a situation like that, you could still get some great value out of a Dwight Freeney. That situation's not going to happen. Now, where do the Falcons go?
It's a very good question. The problem is Dwight Freeney wanted cash. John Abraham is still out there. He is the lone true pass rusher still available. And what about the one-time Georgia Bulldog, Richard Seymour? He's a guy that I think is more versatile than John Abraham.
All right, let me ask you about Seymour, because I agree that he's versatile. But O.C. Umenyiora can only play in a 4-3. Can Richard Seymour get outside, or are you going to play him in a the tackle inside where the Falcons traditionally play their two tackles? Can he play that role and be as effective? Because he's the perfect guy in a 3-4 playing that nose.
I think he lined up all over the place, though, when he was with New England. At times, they did put him at defensive end. If he's healthy, I think he could still play at a high level. Now, what's he going to require? Obviously, the Falcons can only offer him one of those incentive-laden deals.
The John Abraham talk still remains. I still don't think he's coming back to Atlanta, but he's got to start making some decisions here, because his market is literally nothing at this point. The Titans have had some interest. We haven't heard anybody else. The only guy, speaking of a Falcon drawing less interest than John Abraham, is Michael Turner.
Michael Turner, is he healthy? Is his weight down? Any way you slice it, he's one of those guys that's probably not going to be brought in to a situation until maybe a running back goes down for a team during training camp and or the preseason. Let's talk about the NBA Conference Finals and even peek ahead a little bit. When all is said and done, Matt, the question is, could we have an NBA Finals represented only by the Southeast? Could we have Miami taking on the Memphis Grizzlies.
It's funny, we don't even pay any respect to Indiana, who's a pretty good team, because we know it's going to be near impossible to beat this Miami team 4 out of 7 times. Can Memphis beat the Spurs? Yeah, I think they can. I think they're going to protect their home court. Are they good enough and mature enough to win a game if they need to in a must situation, let's say in a game 7 or even earlier that in San Antonio? That's my question, because I think they're more athletic than the Spurs. They obviously have youth. But a Memphis-Miami final, what would that do for NBA Nation?
I don't know what it would do for NBA Nation, but I truly think it's the best matchup. I think Memphis, they like to muck things up. They like to beat you up inside. They like to slow it down. It'll be a very interesting challenge. I know San Antonio has that championship pedigree, but I also think Memphis is just a little bit more athletic. And Memphis, of course, dropped that opening game against San Antonio. The amazing thing is, as they get ready to play Game 2 of this series, they're 8-1 the rest of the way. 0-3 in Game 1s, 8-1 when you talk about closing out series.
Yep. All right, to baseball we go. We told you Joe Simpson, Braves broadcaster, will join us coming up. We'll ask him about the injuries now to the Braves bullpen, including Eric O'Flaherty, who had been the rock in the 8th inning, to go with Johnny Venters. So those guys are both lost for the year, Tommy John surgery, meaning guys like Corey Guerin, who you're seeing here, he'll have to step into a more prominent role, and he's been good so far. Guys like Luis Avalon will have to step in to a more prominent role. 8th inning guys. Nick, this is an enormous loss. So Flaherty was your 8th inning closer, for lack of a better term. How big is it going to be to try to replace him?
Here's the only thing I can fall back on if I'm a Braves fan. Did anybody know who Eric O'Flaherty was a couple of years back, 3 years ago? Same deal with Johnny Venters. You hope that you can find somebody else to step in and fill that role.
The other part of this is if you're looking to make a trade, and you have time, July 31st is a long ways away. Getting relievers is always an easier task than finding an everyday player or a starting pitcher. So Frank Wren will have some time to evaluate what he has and to see what other rosters look like.
We'll talk about the Braves with their announcer Joe Simpson from Fox Sports South when we come back. So stick around here on The Late Shift.
Now back to the Dantanna's Late Shift. Brought to you by Attorney Ray Giudice, featuring the Knights of Cellini Kick Line and the Chernoff Dancers.
All right, no dancers, but a chance to talk some baseball right now. We head to the Zerorez hotline here on the Dantanna's Late Shift. Welcome in longtime Braves broadcaster Joe Simpson, who joins us here on the Late Shift. Joe, it's a pleasure. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. And if you need a dancer, just let me know.
Well, you know what? We're always looking, Joe. We're always auditioning. All right, let's start by talking about Justin Upton, who's been as quality as anybody in the National League. Already talk of MVP discussion, albeit it's May. But did he surprise you at all? We, from a distance, knew he was good. But did you know he was this good watching him every day?
I don't think so. You know, we only get to see him about 6 or 7 times a year, home and home, when they're in the other division. We knew he had a lot of talent, a lot of all-around talent. But there have been several things about his game that have really impressed me that I didn't know about, guys. And one was what good at-bats he has and how much he really focuses, doesn't give away at bats. He even falls behind and makes adjustments when he's behind in the count. And he's just very strong-willed and strong-minded each and every at bat. The other thing might be his base running. We all knew that he had some pretty good speed, but he is an excellent base runner, a smart base runner, and one of those guys that he's at first. If somebody can find a gap or a foul line somewhere for a fair ball, he can score from first. He's very impressive that way, too.
Joe, it's almost funny to say, but Brian McCann being back from the shoulder injury, it's almost like he's the forgotten man. In other words, people forget you're dealing with a guy that is one of the best, if not the best, hitting catcher in all of baseball when he's healthy.
And he gave us a taste of it again when he first came back. And Freddie was trying to extend him a little bit the last few days to kind of build up some strength. Played him 4 straight days before last night. And I think it was taking a little bit of a physical toll on him. I don't think Brian would admit to that. He was still calling a good game, doing a great job behind the plate. But at the plate, I think it wore down on him a little bit because, you know, he got to hit in spring training, but he didn't get to catch. He didn't get to run the bases and all that. Eventually, you know, you've got to get some conditioning worked in for that. And he's getting there, and what an addition to the lineup. You're right. It's like adding an all-star to your lineup when you get a guy like that back.
Joe, earlier in the show, we talked about the bullpen injuries. We knew Venters gone, lost with the Tommy John, and now O'Flaherty, who has been, in my opinion, the best setup guy in baseball over the last couple of years. Guys like Avalon, guys like Guerin, they've been good given the opportunity. I would expect Freddie Gonzalez matches up, uses them in the 8th inning. You think these guys step in, it's a seamless thing, or is it going to be a bigger kind of transition?
Well, here's one thing I keep going back to and hoping that it's more of the same for the Braves, and that is they always come up with good guys in the bullpen. Usually it was coming out of spring training. It might be people that we weren't familiar with, weren't household names, but they always seem to come in and surprise us and do a good job. Eric O'Flaherty was a case in point after the Braves claimed him on waivers from Seattle. But there's no reason to think these guys can't do it. There's an adage that I can't quote, but something about from adversity comes opportunity. And I think for these guys, this is a great opportunity to show how good they are and how good they can be. So it's a wonderful opportunity for them, albeit in not such good circumstances, but hopefully they'll be able to step up.
Well, we talk about some of the guys that have been struggling, Joe, offensively. Dan Uggla gets a big home run on Monday night. B.J. Upton hopefully will start to come around. We know that they are two of the higher-priced veterans on this team, so I would imagine not only for that reason, but that's a big part of it, why they'll get every opportunity to swing their way out of the slumps that they're in.
No, I agree. I think you have to do that because they've done it before. And that's what I keep hanging my hat on with both of those guys, and not just that, but how hard they work. Greg Walker told me about 10 days ago that he said, man, these guys are wearing me and Scott Fletcher out because they want to spend so much time in the cage trying to work through their problems. And they're trying different things. You know, Uggla went to a little heavier bat last night. B.J. Upton, at the suggestion of Walker's, trying to calm his front foot down a little bit, get it down sooner so that he's not late on fastballs. So it's still a work in progress. The results are few and far between at this point, but you just have to have confidence that they're going to come around, and I think they will.
Joe, let's talk about the starting pitching, which came out of the gates flying, dipped a little bit, but has responded here in the last week or so. How confident do you feel with this starting rotation? And the beachy part of this could make it really interesting in the next 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, that'll be fun when Brandon comes back. Boy, is he in great shape. It seems like these guys, when they do have the Tommy John surgery, they work so hard on getting their arm in shape that the rest of their conditioning follows, too, and Brandon's certainly ready that way. The dip you were talking about, I'm going to hang on the road trips. Gosh, the team was on the road so much, and trying to get their work in between starts and everything have been a little more difficult than having a few more days at home, but looks like they're back on track. You're right. Tehran was outstanding last night, and it'll be a pleasant problem, I think, for Freddie Gonzalez and Frank Wren and his staff to have when Beachy comes back as to who fills the role or who has to move out of the role in the rotation. I don't think they'll go with 6 men. I think they'll stay with a 5-man rotation. And who knows, a deal could be in the offing, too, with a surplus of starting pitching and the need for some more help in the bullpen. There might be something that might come up there, too.
All right, Joe, it's always a great pleasure. Appreciate your insight, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Enjoy your show, guys.
Thank you so much. There's Joe Simpson, longtime Braves broadcaster on the Zerorez hotline here on the Dantanna's Late Shift. We will take a break. You're not going to want to move. We have some hits, some big hits. Web hits are next. Stay tuned.
Hockey game up in Canada, a Canadian singer singing the national anthem. It's our Zerorez Mess of the Week. Take a listen. Oh, no.
You can do it. Say it. Sing. Sing.
Never stop.
Broad stripes and bright stars.
All right, back on track.
At the dawn of the light.
Excuse me?
What?
Whatsoever we stray.
Huh? That's not a word.
And the dawn still be.
Oh, no.
And the lights of
All right, it's time to pull the plug. Anyway, that wasn't good.
Bunch of bombs in the air.
Thank you, Enrico Palazzo. Zerorez can't help that broad, but they can help you clean up your house. $139 for 3 rooms and a free hallway. That is the late shift special offer. Check them out at zerorezatlanta.com or give them a call. If you want to follow us on Twitter at Dantana's LS or follow us on Facebook. Hey, it's Enrico Palazzo.
Trying to kill the queen.
So,
Sorry.
That was on the internet. And also some other things on the internet. That's the subject of Web Hits, hence the name of this segment. And we
Strong name.
Go back to the weekend at Turner Field. One of the great stick men, one of the great men on the mic in the business was Jake the Snake Roberts. And then he decided to lead the troops at Turner Field and take me out to the ball game. Looks good. Jake. Saying crack cocaine. Now he's actually cleaned up his act, and I think he kind of forgot the words a little bit there too.
It's a tricky song. There's a lot of tough words.
Listen, you put all of the things that he put in his body over the years, your voice isn't going to sound much better.
I just want to say, Jake, good for you dressing up for the event. That was nice.
Did you
What,
see
were you
the-
at LA Fitness before?
He had the blue shoes and socks on.
Some Umbras.
We wish Jake the Snake Roberts nothing
And
but the
Damien.
best.
I hope Damien's okay,
I don't
too.
think Damien's with us anymore.
You don't know that.
There's a rumor that made the rounds that Damien actually starved to death in a shed in England.
And for those who don't know, Damien was the snake of Jake the Snake. Not like his nephew. It was a snake, just to keep you updated.
I'm so hungry, Uncle Jake. All right, you wonder why the Astros are the worst team in baseball. Take a look at this play against the Pirates the other night. Russell Martin sends a flare out there, and this is something out of the first major league.
It's like a clown car. They should just be driving around, have people jumping out. They're trying. Listen, they've admitted they're starting over. A bunch of young guys. They're going to try to start from literally the bottom and try to build back up. So you're going to have stuff like this go on.
Well, they lost this game, and their manager came out and made an illegal pitching change. And what was worse, the umpires had no idea what it was all about either. How about this documentary? This is beautiful. This is Morgana, the kissing bandit, made her way throughout all professional sports in the 80s and in the 70s. And, well, there's her, how she got her start early.
She looks a little different there.
Yeah,
Little different. Now, imagine how easy it was for her to get on the field at that time.
She had some work done since then.
What are you talking about, like her cheeks or chin?
No, a little lower than that.
She had something done, knee problems?
No hip replacement.
Oh, you're saying she had some augmentation done.
Perhaps.
So can
you
I
see,
see? Well, hold on. How long is this documentary?
17 minutes.
How much do you need about her kissing different guys?
I think she's done more than kiss over 50 athletes over the
Oh, so you're assuming that she's gone past second base?
years. Yeah, nobody has heard from Morgana. She called it quits. She used to go out there bouncing around.
Literally.
65 years old nowadays, and, I think maybe she needs to come back. Just saying.
You can't be serious. Nah, seriously. Even you have standards, right? You put your foot down.
Listen, you have a couple of drinks one night before you call Ray Giudice, maybe you make your way over to Morgana's house. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't at all. I have no idea what you're saying. I'm going to ask you to
Finally,
stop.
a feel-good story. 13-year-old cancer survivor. One of his wishes is to play some wiffle ball. And Robinson Cano signed. Robinson Cano comes. Melky Cabrera's on other things. But Robinson Cano comes and decides to play wiffle ball with this kid.
Yeah.
It's one of those great stories. And a lot of times we don't focus on the good stories. In this case, we can. And obviously, it's something he'll never forget.
No, I agree. Melky Cabrera would have been trying to sell him some other things. But that is a good story. Good for Cano. And that kid will remember that forever. That's a great story.
Yeah, it is a great story. Melky Cabrera would have said, I got some supplements I want you to buy. Try this, it'll make the cancer all go away. Our business expert is Ted Jenkins from Oxygen Financial. He joins us every couple of weeks, and I'm sure he's thanking the Lord above he's not here right now. But if you need to have your money work for itself, there's where you need to go.
He's our money man.
SmartMoneyMoves.com. That's what he is. OxygenFinancial.net. LinkedIn, follow him there with Ted Jenkins, and also give him a call if you so prefer. It's 770-770-0427. Ray Giudice going to get me out of some legal hot water as the late shift continues. Kill your cancer!
Now back to the Dantanna's Late Shift. Brought to you by attorney Ray Giudice with the Cellini All Cello Orchestra and the Chernoff Improvisational Mimes.
And welcome back to the Late Shift. It's time to talk to our legal eagle, our insider. We have him on retainer. He's our own Ray Giudice. Good to see you, Ray.
How are you? Good evening.
Before we get into a couple of sports stories, I want to get your thought on what's going on here in Georgia and potentially nationwide.
Yeah.
The blood alcohol level could
Right.
be reduced from 0.08 to 0.05. How realistic is it that happens, and
Well,
what kind of difference are we
Yeah,
talking
let me
about?
give you an historical perspective. I came out of Emory Law School in 1985. I was a prosecutor here in Atlanta, prosecuting DUIs. The blood alcohol level was 0.12. Early 90s, it went to 0.10, late 90s, 0.08, and it's 0.02 if you're under 21 years of age. So it's a trend. It's been going on for 20 years. Mother Against Drunk Drivers is right behind the NRA as the most powerful lobbyist institutions. So the feds, what they do is they go state by state. Do you want more money for your highways? Do you want more of this? Do you want more of that? Then you lower your blood alcohol level. Right now, 08 is the lowest in the country. One state will crack, will take the money, and then all the other states will follow. In addition, you're going to see higher penalties, more community service, more jail time, more treatment, more restrictions on your ability to drive a car. and keep your license plates and things like that.
Get a taxi.
Yeah.
Get a
Now,
car.
what does it mean, 0.05? Well, let's go back to your experiment.
Yeah,
last
you
week.
saw what I blew there.
Hi-oh!
A .14.
Right. Now, you had 5 beers and 3 shots, if I remember, over about 3 hours. You didn't have that much to eat. So that would be about an average night out back when we certainly
That's a
when we were in
Tuesday for
college.
Nick,
That's a
yeah.
Tuesday. So if you think about having to cut that by a third to get below 0.05, 1.4 to 0.5, you're talking about really 2 beers and maybe a little
I'm
sip.
fine. You don't know me,
And
Judge.
again, you're going to also see extra punishment if you mix alcohol with prescription, meaning legal medications, and God forbid illegal medications.
What about some cough syrup? Anyway,
It's
let's
hot.
talk about this Akron player. Maybe
Right.
he was drunk, maybe he was on cough syrup. On the west side of Cleveland, he decides to rob a head shop. He walks in, waves a 9mm gun in the air, and then steals a bong that's worth over $400.
Yeah, well, just taking the bong, the item is a misdemeanor theft offense. That's not that big a deal. That can be resolved. But when you wave a weapon around, God forbid it was loaded, that turned this into a felony armed robbery. He's looking at potential prison time. Big mistake.
What's the difference in a $400 bong and like a $300
Well, $500 is generally in most states the distinction between
I thought you knew about bongs.
of not a bongs,
Oh.
of misdemeanors or felonies. $499 is a misdemeanor, $501 is
All
a
right,
felony.
listen.
So he was in the misdemeanor zone, absent the gun.
He's an amateur in so many different ways. You can make a bong out of a potato, an apple.
A 2-liter Coke bottle. I mean, there's a lot of things you do.
We've heard
We
of it.
digress, though.
not sure.
Ray, let's talk about the mayor of Toronto who
Right.
pulled a Marion Barry on us,
Right.
remember?
Right.
Mayor Barry, years ago, well, he was caught on video smoking the crack. I
Yep.
don't know your way out of this one.
Yep. Well, good PR, good legal advice.
He looks
Step
good.
up to the plate. Yes. Concede you have a substance abuse problem. Get yourself into treatment.
Eating problem.
Well,
he
that's
tested
for one,
positive
that's just
for
one
blimpies.
substance. Crack is whack. No, never forget that, guys. Never forget that. But it can be saved. It can be managed. But he's got to step up to the plate and get treatment. Crack is highly addictive. This is probably the tip of the iceberg of the other substances he's been abusing.
Is it? I heard a rumor that he used to spread the crack on a Pop-Tart. That was a rumor. I can't confirm or
And
deny
judging
that.
by the picture,
Don't do that.
calories
We're
and crack.
kidding.
I
And
am
again,
the
yes,
mayor
don't
of
do that.
Toronto, and I have a problem. I am addicted to mayonnaise.
Among other substances. We don't mean to laugh. It's a very serious
to the
issue.
hell
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what jail time quickly? What's he looking at?
I don't think jail time.
Wow.
It's a substance problem. If he admits to it, otherwise he could get charged with the possession. That's a crime. That's a felony. But I think it's going to be decriminalized and treated as a problem. Get treatment. Of course, we just don't know what else he
You're
did.
good. You're good.
That's how I would treat it. If he came to my
You-
office, I'd have him in treatment plan, an intensive, tomorrow morning.
You ever notice every time he says treatment plan, he looks at me? Why is that?
You know what? If the shoe fits, that's the way you're going to go. All right, if you want to get in touch with Ray for any number of reasons, here's how you can do it on Facebook.com. You can go on Twitter or LinkedIn for you business professionals to talk to the man behind all the legal issues who tells us everything in the sports world, Ray Giudice. I want to thank Joe Simpson for joining us earlier in the show. For Nick, who is sober right now, I'm pretty sure we'll test him later
That's
to
all
find
right.
out.
Going on that app, I got to find out more about this treatment plan.
Ray is always sober. I'm Matt. Have a great night. We'll talk to you next time on the Dantanna's Late Shift. Good night now.
RG DUI law. There it is.